through the fiscal year 2015, and I have the exact numbers here. I'm happy to leave this with you.
We'd love to get a copy.
It's running about, for the kids, unaccompanied kids, it's running about 40% lower. I hope it stays that way, but we have to be prepared in the event it doesn't.
Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson at a House committee hearing meeting last Thursday, explaining about the numbers of unaccompanied juveniles that have crossed our border in the last year. According to Secretary Johnson, we're looking at approximately 75 juveniles a day apprehended on our southern border. You also heard him say he hopes there will not be another wave of illegals, but seems that wave has never really stopped, or a second wave is underway. For the latest on this story, we're very pleased to be joined by the president of FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, Dan Stein, who joins us from Washington, D.C. So, Dan, is that second wave underway?
Well, of course, it's all part of the first wave, and it never really stopped. Remember that we had a wave come across the border, which we all saw visually, 65,000 or so. The Obama administration actually is working on two tracks. One, they're trying to manage the continued flow, people walking across the border, sitting down, turning themselves over to the Border Patrol. They get a hearing for, years down the line, never show up. But there's also a process by which the Obama administration is actually distorting the law and setting up in-country processing, trying to decide they're going to call people refugees, they're going to parole people in using advanced parole and fly them into the country. So it's going on at two levels, not just at the border, but the Obama administration is flying people in who arguably have no right to come into the country.
Why aren't we hearing more about this? Is it a complicit mass media?
Look, the media, not you, not JD, but the media has been in the tank for the Obama administration's mass amnesty program since 2009. And frankly, the American people, unless they watch certain kind of networks like Newsmax, they don't get the whole story. They don't hear about illegal immigration, about the unconstitutional amnesty program the administration is running, the president illegally excluding Congress and giving out work documents, and our American jobs to people with no right to be in the country, costing taxpayers potentially over $1 trillion in their lifetimes. I mean, we've been looking at some of this cost data, and the Heritage Foundation has done some great work on this too, taking a look at the cost for this Obama amnesty program. But we can deal with that. I guess what you want to talk about first is that these unaccompanied minors, which actually many of them are coming with family members, is really just a family unity program. People who broke our immigration laws earlier, the Obama administration wants to bring all their relatives in.
Well, you mentioned what's at work here and the costs involved. Let's take a listen to Robert Rector, the senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, spell it out, or should I say number it out for us.
The total cost of that is $1.3 trillion. This is a system that is already completely bankrupt, and what the president has done is taken nearly 4 million people with a 10th grade education and given them benefits into that program.
So we are talking $1 trillion with a T, but if this program moves forward, Dan Stein, and we see, quote, family reunification over and above the 4 to 5 million the president is trying to bring in right now unconstitutionally, if we see full-blown amnesty, how many trillions of taxpayer dollars do you think we'll see called for to offer benefits to these folks?
Well, over time, it will be in the trillions because the Obama administration is actually working to destroy, sabotage, and undermine virtually all U.S. immigration and entry controls. They are decimating our interior enforcement capability, employer sanctions, work verification, state and local enforcement cooperation. They're letting criminal aliens out by the tens of thousands now. We keep getting these reports over and over again. The Obama administration simply wants to create a magnet for millions more illegal immigrants to come in from all over the world, many people without the education skills. I mean, part of the reason, J.D., these costs are so high is because, as Robert Rector pointed out in your bite there, 10th grade education on average, people ultimately cost. They cost more than they contribute. And a lot of this $1.3 trillion that Robert Rector mentioned is simply for Medicare and Social Security in the lifetimes of these poorly educated illegal aliens who are being given amnesty. Why is Obama doing this? votes, future votes, re-engineer the electorate. Let me tell you, the Obama administration, it's going to take years and years for this country to repair the incredible, unspeakable amount of damage, sabotage, willful, malicious sabotage to our immigration control apparatus this administration has undertaken for 6 years.
Dan, you mentioned more of what Robert Rector had to say, and of course we hear an argument from the open borders and amnesty enthusiasts that these people are taxpayers and they give us more. To that topic, here is what Robert Rector had to say up on Capitol Hill. Let's take a listen.
They actually really don't ever make a net payment. They say, well, we need them to pay taxes. This group never makes a net payment into the U.S. Treasury. At every stage of their lives, they will always be drawing more out in government benefits than they pay in.
Now, Dan, Jeb Bush was up in Detroit a while back saying that new Americans, immigrants, could come in and repopulate Detroit. In fact, the argument is made that they can repopulate and revitalize the United States. How do you evaluate comments like that?
Listen, I mean, we're a diverse society, and we're bound together not by a common religion or a common ethnicity, but by nothing more than respect for law as the cornerstone of citizenship, that America works because if you play by the rules, you have a shot at the American dream. When Jeb Bush apologizes for lawlessness, illegality, tax fraud, failure to file, use of fraudulent ID, identity theft, and all the other things that have to be rewarded when you give amnesty, what he's really doing is striking at the heart of the last thing that ties us together as a civil and national community. And it's an extremely serious matter. There's 320 million Americans now. We all can repopulate Detroit if we need to, if you have a good economic strategy and you let the investment do its work there. But ultimately, you have a lot of Republicans. You know, there's basically two Republican parties. There's Republican voters who want to see our laws enforced and our borders controlled. And then you got the Chamber of Commerce. It's kind of an aristocracy that donates a lot of money to the party. They don't donate to Democrats, too.
It's tough.
All they want is cheap labor that we're all paying for.
Absolutely. Dan Stein, we thank you very much for your time, sir. And now, a Newsmax.